Every 4 years, there is a Bitcoin event. This event halves the rewards earned by miners and creates a lot of hype and attention for Bitcoin. That's right, today we're discussing the Bitcoin halving. Let's roll that intro and get right down into it. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. We are going to be discussing the Bitcoin halving events. What is going on with the historical Bitcoin halving events? What is going to happen, in my opinion, with the next Bitcoin halving event? Let's go ahead and jump right down into the desktop and start discussing what is going on with these Bitcoin halving events, right? So what is the significance of the Bitcoin halving event? I think this is a good place to kind of start. So the halving of the block reward is a key feature to Bitcoin's monetary policy, implementing a controlled inflation rate. Basically, this helps keep Bitcoin really scarce and increases its value over time. Now, each Bitcoin halving event reduces the number of new Bitcoin produced per block, resulting in lower supply. Basically, Bitcoin was created as a deflationary currency similar to gold. Now, as it becomes more scarce and demand increases, the price is likely to increase in line with the supply-demand economies. These are something that we talk about all the time. And so the Bitcoin halving will ultimately cap the total amount of Bitcoin to 21 million. We all know this. Yeah, it's going to basically see what's going to be unfolding within here, right? So this fixed supply is one of the key fundamental characteristics defining Bitcoin, redefining currencies and what it differentiates Bitcoin from those traditional fiat currencies like USD, GBP, and so forth. Basically, it's just going to be more scarce. It's deflationary rather than inflationary. So let's take a look at the chart here, right, for Bitcoin. I have put on the 4 halving events. These are the white lines that you see here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first Bitcoin halving event, right? This happened to be on the 28th of November 2012. I have that on the wrong day. Let's go ahead and just roll this back to here. That's where it should be, right? So you can see here, the first Bitcoin halving event was Wednesday, the 28th of November, 2012. Now, this basically halved the rewards, right, from a block. They used to be 50 Bitcoin and they dropped down to 25. It was a very significant change because the numbers were significantly higher, right? They were a different time altogether. Now, this first Bitcoin halving event, you can see, really did push the price of Bitcoin up. And this was for a couple of really key things, right? We first of all had a really low circulating supply at the point of this Bitcoin halving event, right? That low circulating supply and halving the rewards of the new Bitcoin that could be created this massive surge to the upside. People finally started to understand a little bit about the potential here for BTC. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this price action just for a moment here. Okay, so we are talking about the Bitcoin halving event happening right around here. We're talking about Bitcoin being approximately $12, if you can imagine that today, right? You can see that we had this little surge to the upside cooling off and then a run to the upside afterwards. This shows us that back in 2012, there was a significant amount of demand, or enough demand, to soak up the supply of BTC. You've got to bear in mind the supply was really, really, really low back in 2012, okay, making it very, very easy for a little demand to come in and take the price action higher. The Bitcoin halving event in 2012, taking those rewards from 50 Bitcoin to 25 Bitcoin, was a key moment for BTC. Okay, so that was your very first Bitcoin halving event, and we saw significant growth afterwards. Let's go over to the second halving event. The second Bitcoin halving event happened over here on the 9th of July, so we're not quite on the right date again. My dates seem to be a little bit skewed. Let's go ahead and get this on the 9th of July. Right, here we go. There we go. So the second Bitcoin halving event happened on the 9th of July. And you can see that we're in the middle of a bit of a correction to the downside, right? So this Bitcoin halving event actually saw a little of the surge to the upside, but then ultimately a move to the downside, okay, into this August 2016 low. So what's going on here? Well, after a significant surge to the upside, a call-off was very much required. A Bitcoin halving event was a little bullish from just pure FOMO, speculation, eyeballs on it, but we also have to bear in mind that there really wasn't enough demand at the time to soak up the supply that was being entered into the market, as in a significant amount of Bitcoin was kind of being released during this run to the upside, and well, it started to get dumped on the market. Okay, a lot of miners seeing profit here, taking profits at around $700, and basically prices reacting to the extra supply that's flooded the marketplace. And so it was inevitable that we saw this move to the downside. But again, what we do see is another halving event. This halving event took those rewards from 25 Bitcoin that was being earned to 12.5 Bitcoin that was being earned per block. This basically meant that we saw another reason to really truly get behind BTC, and you see another surge to the upside afterwards. Okay, a lot of speculation as to kind of what's going to happen here as more and more demand increases. Now, we do have to understand that as time progresses here, there is a bigger circulating supply of BTC, meaning that the Bitcoin halving events get less impactful over time. But it does have that one element. It still drives FOMO, it still drives hype, and it still drives eyeballs on BTC. Now, as we zoom back out here just a little bit, we can go over to the third Bitcoin halving event, and I'm going to zoom in on this as well. The third Bitcoin halving event happens on the 11th of May 2020. Okay, I've got that on the wrong date, so we're going to go over again to the 11th of May right here. Okay, and so we can see on the third Bitcoin halving, we take those rewards from 12.5 Bitcoin per block to 6.25 Bitcoin per block, right? So we know that the rewards are diminishing over time for the Bitcoin miners. Okay, earning Bitcoin through mining activities is getting harder and harder, and it's being pinched from a couple of different angles, right? Obviously, you're earning less Bitcoin per block, but also the energy that is being utilized in order to, prove that your technology, your hardware is working hard enough to prove that you are actually confirming the networks and you're solving the problems on the Bitcoin network, right? And you're basically doing the proof of work consensus mechanism. It requires a lot of energy. That energy has become more and more expensive. You've seen mining companies trying to move around the world into more regulatory friendly compliant areas, but also where energy is most cost effective as well. So we know that although energy prices are rising, we're also seeing Bitcoin rewards diminishing. This is putting a pinch on mining activities. Still profitable at this point in time, only because the price action of Bitcoin is driving up higher, which is a key element to BTC and something that I thought was maybe a little bit overlooked by many in the space, and potentially even by the creator of Bitcoin itself, which is essentially what would happen if Bitcoin's price simply stalls out through an elasticity curve, essentially supply-demand balance. We have, equilibrium within there. And, well, the energy prices continue to rise. The Bitcoin rewards continue to drop. Gets to a point where it's not profitable to run Bitcoin mining activities. And if it's not profitable to run a miner, then who's going to be confirming the transactions, right? So there's definitely some issues, I think, 20 years in the future. But for now, we can definitely see some interesting things going on. Bitcoin rewards are diminishing, energy costs are increasing, and we've got over 19.5 million BTC out in circulating supply now, which is more important than the mining in terms of creating imbalances in the supply and the demand. So with Bitcoin halving event here, the third one, you can see that we really didn't do much. We kind of rallied up into it, a lot of hype around a Bitcoin halving event, and then just kind of stalled out, and then we rallied on up afterwards. So we can see that Bitcoin halving events actually have very little activity on the demand and supply imbalances, and other than FOMO and just a little bit of hype, you don't really see a lot of reason that we're going to be rallying up massively. Now, in this case here, from 11th of May 2020, We really didn't get any significant surge for about 2 months after. So we know that there's a significant period of time of delay. Now, as we come on over, our next Bitcoin halving event is going to be on the 22nd of April. I don't know why my dates are all wrong on here, but the 22nd of April. Okay, that is going to be the 4th Bitcoin halving event. Now, I'm thinking that we're likely to be correcting down into this, and then we're likely to rally on up afterwards. Okay, if not, then we'll stall out. But for the most part, my expectations are going to be that we're going to slowly work our way down towards $30,000 for a Bitcoin halving event. We may find that this is a range where we just kind of consolidate down a little bit before we actually then rally on up again. Okay, so the next Bitcoin halving event is really only a few months away. It is going to be taking those Bitcoin rewards from the 6.25 BTC per block to 3.125 per block. So again, energy prices are rising, Bitcoin rewards are dropping. It's getting more and more difficult to be a Bitcoin mining company, or even if you are on your own, to actually make a profit and turn a profit with BTC miners. It is becoming more and more difficult. And it's only difficult because the value of Bitcoin hasn't really gone up to those levels that you need it to be. Now, this is not to say that we cannot see a significant surge in BTC. I think for the short to medium term, I do not see a problem with the profitability elements for Bitcoin mining activities. I think that that is something that is likely to continue to perform well, probably for another decade or so. After which, though, I think we are going to see a bit of an issue with basically Bitcoin rewards diminishing per block and the price of Bitcoin potentially stalling out. Now we have Bitcoin spot ETFs. These generally actually make a more stable environment rather than a more volatile one. The more money that does flow into this, the more liquid a market becomes, the more stable a market becomes. It's the illiquid markets that create volatility, that create the massive price spikes, whereas a liquid market is more like a stable coin, if you will, quite, predictable, low volatility. So with more money coming in, which is a great big positive, we will see initial surges to the upside. But the long-term here, or the long-term issue here, is that the Bitcoin market becomes more stable, it becomes more liquid, and as such, you'll be lucky to see 10, 20% moves in the market. And as such, you may find that Bitcoin mining activities are harmed in the future because of this. This is not to say that the Bitcoin network will never, will just kind of stop running and things like that. I think a lot of these Bitcoin mining ETFs or Bitcoin ETFs and these hedge funds and these large institutions will basically start running their own operations to basically deal with some of the issues. And we might actually end up with a very centralized Bitcoin in the future, maybe even hard forked at some point to create their own bankers version. There's definitely some concerns I have with BTC's future, but for now, I think in the short to medium term, things are looking pretty good for BTC. But I do expect some price volatility, and I do expect a few things to change over the coming years. Now, that's my thoughts on Bitcoin halving events. What's yours? Let me know in the comments below. And why not check this video out here where I'm talking about the most recent price action for BTC.